Money is the single most important social construct in human history. Everybody wants it, everybody uses it, and everybody needs it. You're watching this video on a device bought with money, wearing clothes paid for in money, in a building that likely cost you money. Despite being the most important construct, money also seems to be the most evil. People are motivated to do terrible things in order to get more money. Anthropogenic climate change is the most obvious one, selling people vapes as recreational products, advertising cigarettes and overly fatty foods, and lying to people to convince them that it isn't a problem, lobbying politicians, etc, etc. All this throwing human life under the bus for profit does make you wonder, would a moneyless society function better than a moneyful society? Is money really that evil that we simply have to abolish it because it corrupts people and causes them to commit terrible acts? I mean, it would certainly remove the incentive to do horrible things for money. However, you could argue that it would remove the incentive to do a lot of good things as well. There is actually a theoretical alternative to a trade and money-based society: the gift economy. An economy in which instead of trading with each other, we give stuff to each other for free. You give to other people, and other people give to you. If you think about it, it's not actually that different to the economy we have now. We're still distributing resources to each other, just without the inconvenient middleman of money. So, let's try to imagine what a gift economy would look like for a second. Our own society works by companies selling each other goods and services. They also pay employees to make more goods and services, which they then sell to other people. The most likely way a gift economy would work is if we kept that up, just without the inconvenient middleman of money. The workplaces would produce goods and services, consume whatever of that which they needed, and distribute the remainder to the organisations, workplaces and individuals that need them. They would give out the resources they produce, other workplaces would give resources to them. But how would this work for the individual human being? The individual would have a job and have no official salary. Instead, however, they would be able to walk into a shop and take pretty much whatever they wanted. So in other words, we keep up the same flow of resources, just without paying each other money. Now, I'll address some questions some people might have in a second, but first I want to make this absolutely clear that I am not advocating for a centrally planned economy. Now, that should be obvious, but I think some people are going to get confused and assume that I want the government to force people to give stuff to each other. You might assume I want the government to coordinate all this. Absolutely not. The government is not capable of organising everybody in that way. It would be a bureaucratic traffic jam. The way I would expect it to work is for people to give to each other voluntarily, in a voluntary gift-based system. Some of you may also be wondering how I expect people to just voluntarily give up the fruits of their hard-earned labour. Well, let me remind you that they will also be receiving from other people, because that's how it works. However, yes, I do expect people to do that, because that's going to be the norm. People will follow their culture. People will naturally conform to what the people around them do. Therefore, if everybody was giving to each other, then it would be the norm to do that in their culture, and so everybody would see that as normal and give to each other. That is how a gift economy works, and that is the only way a gift economy can work. That could never happen in our current culture today. It would be impossible. However, at the end of this video, I will explain how to move towards a gift economy and what we can do to make our culture gradually shift towards the one required for a gift economy to function. So, let's talk about the system again. I just said that in exchange for having a job, you will be able to walk into any shop and take pretty much what you want. But the problem is, resources are finite. What if some people take far too much and don't leave any food or other necessary goods for other people to have? So what's the solution to this problem? Some people may suggest implementing a ration policy, and I wholeheartedly disagree. There are more than enough resources to go around, so a society which requires a permanent ration system to make sure everybody has enough is not worth it. I will point out that it would be very difficult to take too much so that other people have nothing. Businesses throw away a lot of food after it goes out of date. In fact, 40% of all food waste happens in the retail and service industry. If 40% of all food waste currently happens in the food and service sectors, and people started taking more food than they used to, then that would decrease the amount of food wasted by the shops and restaurants. It would mean that food providing services would have to throw away a lot less material. The point here is that if so much excess food is wasted by the retail and service sectors, then it would be pretty difficult to take so much food that other people actually don't have enough to live on. The other thing to consider is that most people aren't going to take more than they can reasonably use. There's a reason you don't see people walking into B&Q and leaving with 2 toasters, because nobody needs 2 toasters. The thing is, most people aren't stupid and they're not going to take a ridiculous amount more than they could ever eat. And thirdly, Peer pressure will also be a powerful restrainer. If a greedy person takes so much stuff from the shops that they are impacting the well-being of the rest of the community, then everybody is going to hate them. And that's why I don't believe that greedy people taking far too much will be a problem. It's very difficult to take too much, most people aren't stupid, and peer pressure is going to keep a lot of people from making themselves hated by the rest of the community. But on the rare occasion that somebody takes so much from the shops that it is harming the well-being of the community, what do we do? Well, there's no one correct answer. It would have to be done on a case-by-case basis because some people need more food than others. Some people have an entire family to feed while others live alone. I suppose each shop could have a policy where if a certain number of people report another customer for being a greedy fucker, then an inquiry is launched into that customer's purchase history. I'm not recommending a formal rationing system. However, if the community believes that somebody is harming their well-being, then there must be a mechanism for the community to fix that problem. There's also the question of whether or not people will be disincentivized from doing good things. The entire point of this video is that, oh, money causes people to do bad things, so let's get rid of money. But on the other hand, doesn't money also cause people to do a bunch of good things? Put it this way, there are some jobs that require a lot more skill than most other jobs, but they have to be done. The problem is it's very, very difficult to acquire that skill because you need to go through like 10 years of university or something. In a money-based society, the people who do those jobs are rewarded with higher salaries. But in a gift-based economy, higher salaries don't exist. Everybody's so-called salary is basically the same thing. So surely less people would agree to go to all the work of doing the higher-paying jobs if they only get the same thing as everybody else? Doctor is probably the stereotypical example of a high-paying, high-skilled job, so let's use them as the case study here. Multiple studies have been done into the reasons that people choose to become doctors. In one study, nearly 60% of people put service to humanity as their primary reason for choosing medicine as a career. Bloody virtue signallers. The second most common reason was respect and honour at 12%, knowledge and family expectations were tied at 8%, other was chosen by 6.5%, and only 6% of people put financial gain as their main reason. In that same survey, participants were asked, who inspired you to join medical school? And 71% of people selected their own personal interest. In another survey, the participants were asked to list all their reasons for choosing medicine as a career, not just to pick their primary reason. 54% put I enjoy studying natural sciences down, and 38% put it was my dream since I was young. Only 23% of people put clear career progression opportunities as a reason they chose to study medicine. Another study gave medical students a list of potential reasons they pursued medicine, and they were asked on a scale of 1 to 6 how important it was. And they repeated the same study on the same students 4 years in a row. This was from years 3 to 6 of their medical training. The year is written on the right side of the y-axis, the number of students is written on the left side of the y-axis, and the importance ranking is on the x-axis. For example, we can see that 95 fourth-year students put saving lives as 6 out of 6 for importance when deciding to pursue medicine as a career. Saving lives, curing diseases, and caring for patients were the top 3. Rewards received an average of 4. What I'm saying here is that people would still become doctors, even if they didn't get a higher level of privilege than everybody else. Although, even I have to admit that 6% is still a big number. 6%? That's more than 1 in 20 doctors leaving. I mean, that's a lot. Luckily, that 6% figure would be offset by another factor, universities. You see, there are probably a lot of people who really, really want to be a doctor, but can't because the university tuition fees are too high. But in a gift-based economy, when universities are free, pretty much anybody would be able to go to university and become a doctor if they wanted to. Or at least a lot more people would be able to become a doctor. It probably wouldn't open the door for everybody. But all these new people who are now able to become doctors and go to university would offset the 6% that would leave. Now, I've been talking about just doctors here, and obviously the point of this section of the video applies to all high-skill jobs. However, the point I just made about universities does in fact apply to all high-skill jobs. Passion is still a great motivator, and well, there is so much passion to be found in law, teaching, and engineering. I don't see why people wouldn't get these jobs even without being afforded higher levels of privilege than everybody else. They're passionate about them, so of course they'll do these jobs regardless. So, with all the immoral actions that are committed with the intention of acquiring more money, maybe it's better to move away from an economy based on currency and start using gift as the dominant form of distribution. However, there is another question we have to answer here, and that is, how do we get here? How do you change the entire system in which society functions? You can't just wake up in the morning and upend the entire social fabric which makes up human existence. Okay, actually, no, I know some people. Many people would recommend, just have the government do it. They'll say that the governments of the world can coordinate a mass operation to end money outright. And to that I say, absolutely not. The governments would have to carefully plan out each individual piece of the economy to turn it into a gift-based system. The problem is the bureaucratic mess that is the government simply cannot plan out the entire economy in that way. In fact, a system in which one group of individuals controls the entire economy is often referred to as communism. Granted, most communist countries haven't tried to abolish money, but I think we can all agree that it doesn't work. One communist country actually did try to abolish money, and it was a disaster. When the Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot, came to power in Cambodia, they started the single most evil regime in human history, one that would make Kim Jong-un and Adolf Hitler cry like little babies. They would kill you for being able to speak more than one language. They would kill you for wearing glasses, and they would kill you for going to university. They even abolished money. Instead, they were in charge. All the distribution of resources were controlled by them and only by them, down the barrel of their guns. They ended up killing a quarter of the Cambodian population through starvation or just straight up murder. It all ended when they were stupid enough to pick a fight with Vietnam. The Vietnamese mopped the floor with the Khmer Rouge's army and overthrew their government. The UN sent in peacekeepers and organised a general and democratic election in Cambodia. I brought this anecdote up to prove that the government is not capable of effectively abolishing money. The people have to do it themselves. Now, I'll admit that if only one country ever has abolished money, then that isn't really a big sample size of one. However, if you combine that with the masses of evidence we have that a central planned economy doesn't work, then I think we can safely say that the government isn't capable of abolishing money. The people have to do it themselves. But how do we do it ourselves? Like I've already said, this isn't a small task. Well, to look at how to abolish money, we have to look at the history of money. Before money, we had something called commodity money. Commodity money is something that has value in and of itself as a commodity, but also has value as a medium of exchange. It was the same way that cigarettes are used as a currency in prison. For example, pretty much every single culture that has cows used cows as a currency at one point. In the Aztec Empire, they used cocoa beans as a currency. In fact, in Norway, they used butter as a currency in one time, because I guess Norway is so cold you can keep the butter, solid at all times and prevent it from melting, okay? But how were coins invented? Well, it's simple. People realised that small lumps of metal were the most efficient medium of exchange, and so people started using them as a currency. The first coins in the world weren't made by governments, they were made by normal silversmiths. Trading in small lumps of metal was the most convenient thing for people to do, and so people made the personal choice to decide to conduct their business in that way. Eventually, the government stepped in and standardised the designs on these coins. They made it so that nobody else was allowed to create them and nobody else was allowed to destroy them except them. Money was not invented by governments. Money was invented by normal people just trying to get by in life. There were no activists out on the street protesting about how we needed to invent money. There were no people writing their manifestos about how money would make society a better place to live. From what I can tell, it just accidentally came about from people doing the most convenient thing for themselves in the moment. Some of you may be asking me why I seek to abolish money if money is the most convenient thing. Well, I would argue that a gift economy is actually more convenient because you don't have to deal with the inconvenience and the bureaucracy of processing the financial transaction as well as the transaction of goods and or services. But that's the problem. We can't rely on convenience to abolish money because people can't just choose to abolish money. You can't choose not to deal in money in our society. That is impossible, okay? Everybody has to use money. You can't choose to stop using it. So if we can't just choose to stop using money, then how do we abolish money? Well, the change from the commodity money to money took a few decades, but I can't see us abolishing money in such short a time. I would say that the abolition of money to a gift economy would probably take several centuries, in my opinion. I do have one suggestion for what we could do to abolish money. However, I understand that most people can't do it. Most people need a few hours of sleep every night. Most people have to spend the majority of their waking hours working for a living. Most people have to take care of their children. And most people need at least some rest every day. I'm sorry to say that a lot of people just don't have time to abolish money. However, I do have one suggestion for how to abolish money. However, I'm acknowledging that it is quite off the table for most people. Most people simply don't have time. Money was invented because people made the personal choice to use it. A gift economy can be created by people making the personal choice to give to those in need. Volunteer at your local homeless shelter. Donate to your food bank. If you have any spare food that you don't need or can't eat, give it away. If you own a business and you've produced or acquired some excess resources that you either can't sell or don't need to sell, maybe consider giving it away. I mean, if you are a shop owner, for instance, then I'm sure there's so many homeless people who would be willing to waive their right to sue you in exchange for, say, a free tub of mayonnaise or whatever food you have left over. Same with a restaurant. Don't just throw your food in the bin once it doesn't not look appetizing anymore or gone over the sell-by date. Give it to a homeless people. I of course acknowledge that this isn't an option for most people. However, if you help others, then the people who are helped are more able to help others. And if a large enough mutual aid network develops, then perhaps that could develop into a genuine gift economy. And sure, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're barking up the wrong tree. Maybe giving to others is never ever going to create a gift economy. But at least you're helping people. So, in summary, money motivates people to do bad things, so we should replace it with a gift economy rather than a trade-based economy, and we can create a gift economy by giving to others. Alright, thanks for watching, and that's basically the video. Goodbye.